The fan above my bed spun in slow, reluctant circles, clicking just enough to remind me it was alive, like a heart that didn't know whether to stop or keep going. Her side of the bed was already cold. The pillow still dented, the sheets still curled at the edges from how she slept, knees pulled tight like she never meant to unfold for anyone. There was no message. No sound. No goodbye. Just her toothbrush, still in the glass beside the sink, leaning awkwardly against the rim, as if caught mid-decision and then abandoned. I stared at it for a long time, like it owed me an explanation. The last message I sent her, still showed 2 blue ticks. She hadn't replied. Or maybe she had, in her own way. She once told me, she was tired of drunk men, and fake smiles. That some nights, she'd forget her own name by midnight, just from pretending to like the people who kept asking for it. So I stepped in, I paid the bar fine. I gave her rest, I gave her silence, thinking it would be a gift. But silence is only comforting, when both people understand it the same way. And maybe the real danger wasn't falling for her. Maybe it was believing that, just because she stayed beside me one night, she'd still be there the next. 3 months earlier, I arrived in Thailand, carrying 1 suitcase, 1 fading passport, and 1 last hope, that changing places might feel like changing stories. The air hit me like heat soaked in memory, sticky, familiar, but harder to breathe through this time. I didn't book a resort, I just drifted into Pattaya, like a man trying not to be noticed, hoping to disappear, somewhere loud enough, that no one would ask why. The divorce was already old news by then, it hadn't broken me, it had worn me down, like water on stone. No arguments, just distance, just forgetting. My daughter stopped replying to texts, after I missed her birthday, and I stopped reminding myself to be surprised by it. I told myself I was here for the beaches, for the quiet, for the food. But that was a lie I'd repeated so often, it came out smooth. What I really wanted, was to be wanted again. I found a condo above a pharmacy, 6 floors up, cheap, clean, and close enough to hear the bass lines from Soy Buako, if I left the window open just a little too long. I'd sit on the balcony at night, watching the motorbikes hiss past below, and wonder how many men like me, were trying to start over, in a place built on forgetting. And that's when I saw her. Ice. She slid onto the stool beside me at a bar I hadn't meant to go into, she didn't smile, didn't flirt, just looked at me and said, "You look like someone who came here to forget something." And I didn't even answer, because somehow, she already knew. We didn't sleep together that first night, or the second. She came over after work, still wearing her makeup, just her tired eyes flicking between me and the TV. We didn't talk much. I didn't press her for conversation, and she didn't ask why I was so quiet. We sat together like strangers, who had known each other longer than we could remember. She never once asked me anything personal. Just sat beside me, letting the silence hum between us. She didn't need anything, and that, somehow, felt like everything. I offered to pay her bar fine on the 3rd night. Quietly, almost embarrassed by the offer. She didn't smile or thank me. She just said, "Okay. But only if you want, not because you have to." That hit me, deep. She wasn't asking. She wasn't waiting for me to save her, to make her feel special. She simply wanted space to exist, without the demands of men, who thought kindness was a transaction. But I couldn't help myself. Because she didn't ask for anything, I gave her everything. Because there was nothing to expect, I expected everything. When she stopped showing up at the bar, I didn't question it. She stayed with me, in the condo I'd rented like it was a gift, like we were both on some quiet vacation that would never end. Her things started to appear, little by little. A toothbrush. A hairbrush. The smell of coconut shampoo that lingered long after she'd gone. But she never moved in completely, she never used the word, we, or us, she never claimed this place as hers. I told myself it didn't matter, she didn't need to say it. But the truth was, I needed her to stay, in a way she never needed me to. She disappeared for a night, then a weekend. Said she was going to see her cousin in Jontian. I didn't ask where she was, I didn't ask what she was doing, I just waited for her to come back. I told myself I was patient, but all I was really doing was waiting for someone, who had never promised to stay. The first time she made breakfast for me, it was warm rice, overcooked eggs, and a faint smile that didn't reach her eyes, but it was all I needed. She didn't need to try, and that's what made me feel like I had finally found something real. She sat cross-legged on the sofa, scrolling through her phone, while I shuffled around in the kitchen, trying to ignore the weight of her presence that settled in the corners of the room. But I couldn't ignore it, I wanted to feel this moment, to claim it as mine. So, I let it linger. We didn't speak much in those days, her touch was light, her voice softer than it had ever been in the bar. She never asked for anything, not once, and I kept telling myself that this was all I needed, this quiet space we shared. When we bought curtains together, green, because she said they reminded her of home in Buram, I felt like we were building a future. She picked them with such care, as though it was a decision that belonged to both of us. I thought it meant something. At night, she would light incense by the window, and press her hands together in front of the small Buddha statue on the shelf. She never explained it, but I never asked. And I told myself it was because I didn't need to know, that this too, was part of what made her different from all the others. She talked about opening a salon, not a big one, just a small quiet place where she could help people, like she wasn't just waiting to be saved, but that she was working on her own future. I wanted to believe it, I wanted to believe she wasn't just playing along, with the version of her that I'd written in my head. But she never said it out loud, and I let it go unsaid. It was all there, right in front of me, her gentleness, her silence, the way she never demanded a thing. And I kept telling myself this was love, this was real, but the more I told myself that, the more I realized I wasn't looking at her, I was looking at the life I wanted to believe in. It ended without ceremony, no arguments, no slamming doors, no final moments of rage or regret, just a sentence spoken in the quiet that had built itself between us, as if it was already too late to say anything else. I go home next week. Maybe not come back. She was folding my laundry, t-shirts, socks, all neatly stacked like she belonged in this life that I'd imagined we were building together. I watched her work, she didn't pause, didn't look at me. Just folded with quiet precision, as though she was trying to erase the space between us, before I could even name it. I didn't ask her why she was leaving, not at first. Not when I saw how tired her eyes had become in the mornings, or how she'd started to wear that same look of distance, like she was already a step out the door before I even noticed. But I asked her anyway, later that night, because it gnawed at me. I asked if there was someone else, she didn't answer immediately. Just stared at me like I had already known the answer. And then she said, "You want me to love you in a way I never promised." I could have said something then, I could have argued, but the words wouldn't come. And I realized that, somehow, I wasn't angry, I was just empty. I wanted to shout that we had something, that I had given so much, but her quiet voice, her refusal to meet me halfway, it was all too familiar. She didn't lie to me, not once. She never asked for more than she was willing to give, she gave me everything she had, and I built a future out of it. But she never promised me forever, she never promised me anything, and that, I think, is what I couldn't accept. It wasn't her leaving that broke me, it was the truth she'd been giving me all along, one I refused to see until it was too late. She was gone by morning, no dramatic goodbye, no storming out, just the click of the door closing softly behind her, almost too softly, like she was trying to erase her presence from the room as she left. The silence hit me the hardest, the condo felt smaller, suffocated, as though her absence had tightened every corner, shrunk every breath. I stayed in bed too long that day, staring at the ceiling, unable to tell if the heaviness was her leaving or the weight of the truth settling in. Her toothbrush was gone, her slippers, which had once always been by the door, were gone too. But the smell of her coconut shampoo still lingered in the bathroom, and it was this scent, not her belongings, that made the emptiness feel more real. I didn't cry, I didn't message her, I didn't chase after her, I didn't even have the energy to feel angry. Instead, I did what I always did when things fell apart, I scrolled through our old conversations. I looked at the photos we'd taken, the ones where I thought we were together. I kept searching for the moment when she had truly chosen to leave, but it was never there. The truth was, she'd never left me, she'd never been mine to begin with. I'd made the mistake of building something that wasn't hers to give. And in the end, she didn't take anything, she simply walked away, leaving me with the empty spaces I had created myself. But what broke inside me wasn't just the loss of her, it was the loss of myself, the version of me who thought I could make someone stay by giving them everything I had. I gave her the space to leave because I never asked her to stay. In the quiet that followed, I finally understood, the hardest part isn't losing someone, it's realizing you never had them to begin with. Sometimes, I still see her, just for a moment, when I walk through the markets or pass by a roadside stall. The flicker of a smile, the glint of something familiar, but when I look closer, it's just a shadow of a memory that never quite disappears. I don't call out, I don't approach, but I see her, I see that same stillness in her face, that same quiet resignation. And I wonder, for a fleeting second, if she feels it too. If she remembers us as I do, if she ever even thought of me after she walked away. I kept the green curtains, I kept the place she never really called hers. The same old bottles of Thai whiskey sit on the shelf, gathering dust, like they were part of some plan I never saw through. I even keep shopping at the same market, the one where she used to laugh at my inability to order anything not spicy. The vendors know me now, I smile at them, exchange pleasantries, but I never tell them I'm still haunted by the ghost of something that never truly existed. Every so often, I wonder if I could have done things differently, if I'd needed less, demanded less, waited less for something she was never ready to give. But those are the questions that don't change anything, they just make you wish you'd never asked them at all. The real mistake wasn't falling for her, it wasn't giving her a place to stay, a room to breathe. It was believing, for just a moment, that this could be anything other than what it was, a brief, beautiful distraction from the quiet ache of a life I couldn't escape. In Thailand, love doesn't announce itself, it doesn't scream from rooftops or cry for attention. It slips in quietly, through simple gestures, small acts of kindness, and it slips out just as quietly when you're not paying attention. So, if you ask me now what my biggest mistake was, it wasn't falling for her, it was assuming that just because I opened my door, she would want to walk through it.